Welcome. In this video, we'll introduce Synology's Active Backup for Business software and show you how you can use this tool to back up your entire business workload. Today, more than ever, it is critical to protect your business's data with a proper backup strategy. But it can be challenging because data is spread across so many different devices. Most businesses use a combination of PCs, workstations, multiple file servers, virtual machines, and many companies are integrating with third-party cloud services. Managing data in so many different places can be a daunting task. Implementing and managing a comprehensive backup plan on top of that adds even more complexity. This is why Synology has created the Active Backup suite. There are 3 packages available in this suite: Active Backup for Business, Active Backup for G Suite, and Active Backup for Office 365. Each package focuses on backing up different aspects of your IT environment. In today's video, we'll demonstrate how to manage backups for PCs, servers, and virtual machines using Active Backup for Business. Active Backup provides a centralized, active form of management. What we mean by this is you'll have a single pane of glass to trigger and manage all of your backup parameters without having to log into each client device. We use the term active because Active Backup for Business is pulling data from your other devices. Rather than using agents to push data, this software provides a single, powerful tool to collect data from your entire business IT environment. At the heart of Active Backup for Business is a beautiful central admin interface. From here, we can look at all the backup tasks that have been configured, view and generate reports and logs, and we can even analyze network transmission trends to ensure we're not saturating our network with too many simultaneous backup tasks. Active Backup for Business is truly scalable. From the same interface, we can create templates to deploy backup tasks en masse. The backups captured by Active Backup for Business are image-based. This means we capture a bare metal image of the hard drive of the client device. We do so by installing an agent on a PC or server, connecting it to Active Backup for Business software, and from there, everything is managed through the Active Backup for Business interface. We also offer agentless integration with VMware vSphere, as well as agentless SMB and rsync file-based backups. Let me give you a quick tour of how easy it is to set up backups within the software. Here is Synology Disk Station Manager, or DSM for short, our award-winning operating system accessed via a web UI. Let's open Active Backup for Business. Here you'll see the central interface. Along the left side of the screen, there are tabs for all the different device types in our environment. This includes PCs, servers, file-based server backup, and virtual machines. We can also look at our backup storage targets, restoration status, activity logs, and global settings as well. On the right side of the screen, you'll see a wide variety of data being displayed to give us an at-a-glance overview of our entire storage and backup architecture. This includes all the devices that are being protected, a calendar showing when backups have been completed successfully, logs of our recent backups, status on how much storage space is being used, and if we scroll down, we can even see network data transmission trends. Taking a look at a daily backup history, you see we've had many successful backups and one warning. It looks like one device may have been offline or there was an issue with the backup. This is a perfect example of where we'd want to set up system notifications to send a text message, email, or push notification to the device of your choice, letting you know exactly when an issue arises that needs to be addressed. Let's look at PC backup. When the PC tab has been clicked, you can see a list of all the PCs currently connected to Active Backup for Business. In this example, I have 2 machines. One is online at this moment, indicated by the green circle, and the other is currently offline. There are 2 tabs on the window, Devices and Task List. Task List shows the schedule of recurring backup tasks that are already created for these devices. As you can see, Brett's machine has a regularly scheduled bare metal backup in place. Let's go back to Devices and create a task for Marlene's computer. First, I select the machine. Create Task becomes available. Clicking on this button, a simple wizard-based interface appears, allowing us to just walk through every step required to create a backup task. Here we can name the task. Next, I choose a storage target. Where would I like this backup data to be stored? On this screen, we can select what type of backup we'd like to keep. Choosing bare metal will image the entire drive. System volume will image the boot volume, or I can customize and select a particular volume. Because of Marlene's unpredictable nature, a bare metal backup for Marlene's computer will be the best choice. I'll also keep data transfer compression and encryption selected to ensure that the backup is as efficient and secure as possible. Next, we'll look at the schedule for the task. Choosing manual backup means I have to trigger the backup whenever I'd like, and it won't back up any other times. Or I can set a recurring schedule. Let's go ahead and choose to back up on the weekends as well as on Wednesdays. And we can have this repeat once per day, let's say at 3 a.m. Marlene usually isn't working at that time. From the next screen, we can specify a retention policy. Let's keep all versions for 7 days, daily versions for 30 days, and weekly versions for 52 weeks. For Marlene, this will be a sufficient number of versions to choose from. Finally, we can review all our settings are correct and click Apply. We are prompted if we'd like to back up now. Since Marlene's computer isn't connected at this moment, I'll choose no, and she'll receive her first full backup this weekend at 3 a.m., providing she's turned her computer on by then. You can see the view switched automatically to the Task List tab, where Marlene's task appears next to Brett's existing task. Now that you've seen how easy it is to create a PC backup task, let's take a look at what's involved if you wanted to scale out this deployment to hundreds of workstations. Earlier, I mentioned managing backups en masse using templates. These can be found under the Settings menu on the left sidebar. Here there are 2 tabs: Settings, which limits the number of concurrent backup devices. This can be used to throttle backups to avoid network congestion. And then the other tab, Template. Let's create a new template. First, we need to name the template and choose who it applies to. Let's make a template for all of our sales managers. By clicking this drop-down, I can choose which DSM users or user groups this template will apply to. If I scroll down further, I'll see all my Active Directory users and AD groups as well. For today's demo, we'll choose all the users in our Sales Managers group. Next, I choose if these are PCs or physical servers. The differentiator here is that physical server gives some advanced direct-to-hypervisor restoration options which aren't available for PCs. We won't need this option for our sales managers, so we'll choose PCs. After this, we select a storage destination for the backups, the type of backups we'd like, the schedule for the sales manager's backups, and the retention policy, just like we did for Marlene's computer. Finally, I get a summary and I can go ahead and click Apply. Now, what happens is that any time the Active Backup Business Agent is installed on any sales manager's computers, as soon as they log in with their username and password, Active Backup for Business will see that they are connecting to this backup server, recognize that they belong to the Sales Manager group, and it will go ahead and immediately populate a backup task using the template we just created. This will show up in the PC section under the Tasks tab. This way, you can easily create backup tasks to manage backups for hundreds of devices. Moving on to the Server section. Here we can see a list of servers currently connected to Active Backup for Business. These work with an agent, just like the PC tasks I showed you. We also have a task list, very similar to the one you just saw. In fact, the main difference for physical server versus PC backup comes into play during restoration. We'll get on to that later. But while I'm on this menu, I would like to highlight the Update Agent button. Here I can select a server or PC, and then click on this button and choose if I'd like to update the agent on a single device or all devices at once. Because all my agents are already up to date, these are grayed out. But if they were selectable, I could simply click once here rather than logging into each client device and manually updating the installed backup agent. Central management made simple. Let's move on to the File Server section. Active Backup for Business can back up files from a server using SMB or rsync if you're looking for file-level backup. Well, most of the time, we do recommend doing full image-based backup. This option can be convenient if you only want to pull a small amount of data from a server. Adding a server is as simple as going through the wizard, choosing SMB server or rsync server, and then entering login credentials as well as the server IP. Once the server has been added, we can look at the Task List tab to see any tasks we've created for it, and even edit task parameters to do some very detailed filtering. Because this is file-based backup, we can browse which folders to back up on the server. Then we can go to File Filter and filter by file type. We can get very granular. For example, back up all audio files except DSF files, or exclude file types like video files entirely from our backup. After that, we schedule our frequency and create the task. Now let's move on to virtual machines. From this tab, we can see a list of virtual machines currently connected to Active Backup for Business. Above all the VMs, you can see an IP address. This is the IP address of my VMware ESXi host. All of these machines live inside of vSphere, which is integrated with Active Backup for Business. It's a very simple link to make. Just by clicking Manage VMware vSphere, here I can see the ESXi hosts currently connected to Active Backup for Business, or I could add additional vSphere servers simply by adding the server address and then my username and password. Let's jump into vSphere so you can see what that setup looks like. After we've logged into VMware, I can go look at our virtual machines, and here you'll see all the VMs that are being backed up by Active Backup for Business. We'll come back to this later. After the link has been established with vSphere, we can create backup tasks for these machines. We choose our storage destination, name the task. Now I can browse a list of available hosts and clusters. Drop down until I get to this host, and then select exactly which VMs I want to include in this backup task. Let's do Watermelon, Raspberry, and Blue Raspberry. After I click Next, some advanced options appear. Note that here I can choose the max number of concurrent backup devices. This is great on a per-task basis if you are connecting many ESXi hosts. Down at the bottom, I can enable backup verification. This is a cool feature that uses Synology's hypervisor, Virtual Machine Manager, to take the backup image files, attempt to boot them in our own hypervisor, and verify that they work. It also captures a low-resolution video to document verification of backup integrity. Clicking Next, we choose a schedule for the task and choose a retention policy, just like the other backups we've put in place today. One feature that is different for VM backups is that we are prompted to choose who has privileges to access all these backups. Here I can see all of our users. I can even click the drop-down to view domain users. For this instance, let's just allow Kirkpatrick and myself to manage these backups. Finally, we have a chance to review all the settings. Click Apply, and it will ask if you want to back up now. Let's do this. We're immediately taken to the Task List tab. We can see Fruit Salad is currently backing up 3 VMs. You can see how easy it is to manage all your backups in this environment. Oh, and while we're here, let's take a look at the backup verification videos I mentioned a moment ago. By selecting a task and clicking on the Version button, we can view all recent backups of this task. When we highlight a task, a small button appears on the right, allowing you to browse the folder and view the verification video. As you can see, clicking it opens FileStation directly to the backup archive for this VM, and a live video is present for us to watch. When we open this video, you'll see it successfully captured a healthy boot to Windows in our own virtual machine manager. We can all rest easy knowing King PAMPS is up and running. The verification process is automatic when a task completes. You can even set up notifications if you want successful or unsuccessful verifications to ping you with text, email, or push notifications. Now that you've seen how simple it is to capture images and manage backups with Active Backup for Business, you might be asking a little bit more about the technology. Is image backup an efficient way to store your data? You might be concerned about the file size being so large if you're backing up hundreds of machines. Synology also uses a technology that's an incremental backup That means that we back up change data as it occurs and not the entire image each time. Because of this, we need to consider the time spent scanning for changes could be slow and potentially not efficient. And because these are images of the entire hard drive, what happens when you need to restore a single file? Fortunately, our developers were well aware of all these concerns and built in some amazing technology to make sure that Active Backup for Business delivers the most efficient backups available. We use global deduplication to ensure that we're not storing data redundantly. This keeps file sizes small. We've implemented changed block tracking, so we don't have to scan the entire hard drive to find out what data has changed since the last backup. This keeps our backups fast. And we've also built user-friendly self-recovery portals that your end users can take advantage of to restore files on their own without having to request support from your IT department. Let's take a look at each of these. First, global deduplication. This is a cross-platform, cross-machine solution. What we mean by that is that data from your workstations, desktops, laptops, servers, VMs, virtual servers, it's all going to be deduplicated together. So we'll look at all the blocks that make up data across all of your devices, identify how many unique blocks exist within that spectrum, and then we'll back up one copy of each of those unique blocks, along with instructions to rebuild all of your data in its entirety. This saves a tremendous amount of space. Recently, Shiseido implemented this solution and was able to reduce 66 terabytes of backup data down to 17 terabytes after dedupe. You save a lot of storage space and require far fewer hard drives to hold your backups thanks to this technology. Next is changed block tracking. The first time we image data from your production site, whether that's a virtual machine, workstation, or server, the entire image needs to be captured. So the first time is a full backup. Let's say it's 10 gigabytes in this example. Now we have version 1 stored on the NAS server, the entire 10 gigs. Once new data has been added, let's pretend 1 gigabytes of additional data has been generated. We'll indicate that with a green circle in this example. We don't want to have to scan the entire 10 gigabyte hard drive of original data to find that 1 gig of new data. That'd be a waste of time. So instead, we use changed block tracking. This works with Microsoft Windows VSS to tell us what data has changed since the last snapshot was taken. This way, when we want to do our second backup, we know to go directly to the new data, copy that over, and reuse the rest of the data which we'd already backed up from version 1. This makes your backups extremely fast. Finally, we built in a beautiful self-service restoration portal. You can choose which users have access to this portal, and they can restore files by themselves. Anyone familiar with standard file browser interfaces will find this immediately intuitive. There's a timeline on the bottom of the screen to browse restoration points and buttons to restore or download the selected files. But that's not the only way to restore. Active Backup for Business has a myriad of different restoration options. Because we back up image files, we can do full restoration via bootable USB media. You can create a boot media, plug it into your device, boot off it, and restore your entire image. This can be done for PCs, servers, and VMs. File-level restoration is available through the Active Backup for Business interface for all 4 device types. The self-service file restore portal can be accessed on backups for PC, server, and VMware users, basically any of the imaged backups. Then we have a couple advanced options for integrating with our hypervisor, Virtual Machine Manager, as well as VMware vSphere. These options are available for both server backups as well as VM backups. Let's jump back into the interface and I'll show you how easy it is to use some of these restoration options. Inside Active Backup for Business, let's navigate over to PC. If we wanted to restore something from Brett's desktop, we simply click the device, come up here to Restore, and choose either Create Recovery Media or Open Restore Portal. Since we don't want to create a bootable media today, we just need one file, let's open the portal. Now, this portal is also accessible via the desktop agent. In fact, it's the only button on the agent. It sits inside of your system tray, so Brett can see this just by going down to his system tray, clicking the Active Backup agent icon, and then the only button on it is going to say Open Restore Portal. Very easy to get to. Here in the portal, I can see all the files that were on the computer. I can even browse to different versions at different points in time. If I wanted to download a photo like this stock photo, I can simply double-click it and download it right here to my local machine and open it up. If I wanted to restore the file directly to Brett's machine in its original location at that point in time, I could just click Restore. Because I'm logged in as an admin in the Active Backup for Business interface inside of DSM, I have some additional options in the upper right corner. I can choose a view role to see what access permissions look like for other users and see what they have access to restore. I could also go to the task dropdown and browse the available restoration tasks for my selected user. Moving on to physical server. A moment ago, I mentioned some advanced restoration options. So let's select our server and choose Restore. A different wizard pops up. Let's start at the bottom. You see a couple clickable text links. One option helps you create a bootable USB device to restore an entire image, and the other opens the Active Backup for Business portal, which I just showed you. The three remaining options are hypervisor integrated restoration options. Again, starting at the bottom, we have Instant Restore to Synology Virtual Machine Manager, followed by Full VM Restore to VMware, and Instant Restore to VMware. We'll demo the VMware options in a couple minutes, but let's start out by doing an Instant Restore to Synology Virtual Machine Manager. This simple wizard-based interface lets us choose a restore point, storage destination, and these will be whatever storage targets you specified within VMM. We can allocate resources and name the device. And if I wanted to boot from a different ISO or image, I could do so. I can also allocate how much space the machine will have, which network it's on, as well as BIOS and keyboard settings. Finally, I can choose which users have access to boot this VM. As soon as I hit Apply, my settings will be committed to Virtual Machine Manager, and the hypervisor will open, creating a new virtual machine based on the backup image of this server backup. So why would we want to do this? Well, for one, if a server goes down and the physical hardware is damaged, booting inside of Virtual Machine Manager provides a way to spin up your server and immediately get back to work. Everyone can connect to the device and resume your day as usual. Let's select the emergency server and power it on. It only takes a few seconds to boot the machine. Another reason to boot a backup into VMM is that it provides a sandbox environment separate from your normal production environment. So you can take the backup of a server and experiment with things like software updates. You could test beta software without compromising the stability of your production environment. You can simply boot the backup in Virtual Machine Manager, install the changes in your software, put it through testing, and then move on to deploy it in your real environment. Now that the server is running, I can simply click Connect, log in, and begin working right through our web interface, giving us access to this machine inside Synology's hypervisor running right on the NAS. Moving on to virtual machines, let's do some more restoration. Let's boot some of these backups, but instead of booting them into Virtual Machine Manager, let's load them back into the VMware hypervisor. So taking a second look at the VMware environment. At the top of the list are all the virtual machines. And notice down at the bottom, there is a list of recent tasks. So we're going to do a restoration into VMware, but first let's mess something up so we have something that needs to be restored. Let's delete the virtual machine named Banana. If you look at the bottom of the screen, here you'll see Banana has been destroyed. When we return to Active Backup for Business, we'll see that Banana is no longer found in the hypervisor. So let's restore this machine. If we highlight the VM, click on Restore, we get an options dialog very similar to that of physical server. Note that if we'd like to, we could take this machine out of VMware and restore to Synology's Virtual Machine Manager, just as we did with our physical server. The other options we have are Full VM Restore and Instant Restore. So Full VM Restore would copy the entire image back into VMware at its original location. But it would take some time as it would have to move the entire file. So what if we were in a hurry? Well, what we're going to demonstrate now is the Instant Restore to VMware. This takes the backup image, which is stored on your Synology NAS, and mounts it directly into vSphere as a storage target and immediately connects the hypervisor to the backup image, allowing you to boot it almost instantly. To do this, we simply choose a restoration point, location, and click Apply after reviewing the settings. Now, this process actually happens very quickly, so I'm going to click Apply and switch screens without any editing of this video or any delay, so you can actually witness this in real time. So back in VMware, you'll see Banana populate in the virtual machine list, and at the bottom of the screen in the data store is being connected to the backup image, and the new VM is registered. And now the machine is ready to boot. So in about 5 seconds, you can mount the backup image directly to VMware and begin booting your recovered machine. Today, you've had a chance to see Active Backup for Business's interface, some of the advanced technology and features we use to make sure your backups are as efficient as possible, and we took a look at the flexible restoration options. What we just looked at was the Active Backup for Business application, just one part of the Active Backup suite. Be sure to check out our other videos for Active Backup for G Suite and Office 365. Regardless of what you're backing up in your environment, the Active Backup Suite provides one simple way to centrally manage all your backup tasks. Free lifetime technical support from Synology means you have a single solution provider for any assistance you may need with this software. And because it is Synology's belief that anyone using our servers should never suffer data loss again, we consider Active Backup an essential part of your IT environment. Everything I've shown you today is license-free and included with our operating system, DiskStation Manager. Thanks for joining us for this solution introduction video. Please visit Synology.com to learn more.